What's good, everybody? Chris here again. Chris Goes Outdoors. Today in this video we are going to talk about footwear for hiking. Specifically, we're going to talk about footwear that I have personally used while hiking. Most of this is stuff from the Appalachian Trail and my experiences with footwear on the Appalachian Trail. With talking about that, we're also going to talk about socks a little bit as well. So all sorts of foot fun today, let me tell you. Let's jump into it. Right at the beginning of the Appalachian Trail, and even before technically the beginning of the Appalachian Trail, I was wearing a pair of Ciccone, I forget how to pronounce it. Someone corrected me in the comments of my initial gear video for the AT, whatever it is. Ciccone Exodus 6.0 trail running shoes. So these shoes were great. I had tested them before the trail. They worked very, very well for me. Pretty breathable, relatively lightweight, and they were durable too. Like, they went through, however much of the White Mountains, which is rugged terrain, before the Appalachian Trail. And then out on the AT, I wore them up until Damascus. And they lasted pretty well. Probably didn't notice any issues with them up until about 50 miles from Damascus. I had eventually worn holes on both sides, I believe, where my pinky toes were starting to kind of protrude out of the side of the shoe. And I had one little hole, I remember, also where a stick actually ended up poking through. So they lasted a pretty good time. They were used in the White Mountains, of course, on a bunch of hikes before the Appalachian Trail, and then lasted from Georgia all the way to Virginia on the AT. This is where begins my Appalachian Trail shoe debacle. And I don't know if I ever actually told this entire story, so sit down, grab a cup of coffee, because this could be a long one. On the way to Damascus, I thought to myself, I should order another pair of shoes. I'll get the same ones, these are working great for me. So looked up the Ciccone Exodus 6.0s, and what do you know? No longer made. So I was like, oh no, I can't believe this. I found one pair, I think on Amazon, but it was the Gore-Tex version, and they wanted like $150 or something for it. I was like, nah, no way. There's so many outfitters in Damascus, I gotta find something when I'm down there. So decided against ordering anything. And I had heard about the Ultra 3.0 shoes from all sorts of people, so I figured 3 outfitters, someone's gotta have them. We'll get down to Damascus. We're taking a zero anyway. I'll check the outfitters out that day. So we get down there, and there were 3 outfitters in town at the time. I don't know the names off the top of my head. I'll try to list them somewhere on here if I remember. So I went to all 3 of the outfitters, and it's my understanding, and I could be wrong, I did not know this at the time, but I believe that all 3 of the outfitters are apparently owned by the same person, or the same group of people. They all offer very, very similar products. So I went into the store. I was actually walking around with Fudd for a good portion of this because he was looking for some new shoes too. I tried on every pair of shoes I could find in all 3 of those outfitters, and none of them were like good. Like, they were okay, but they weren't like the shoe. If you put on a pair of shoes that work, you put them on, they're like butter, they're great, you walk around, good to go. I'm a firm believer that if anything just feels slightly off about the shoe, you're going to experience that even worse, especially if you're hiking up and down mountains. So I tried on everything. I tried on, I think one of them had La Sportiva. I think I tried on the Wildcats. Fudd was hiking in the Solomon. I think they were Speed Cross. So I tried on them, and I have relatively wide feet. So those things were not working for me at all. I tried on Hoka, was it? The ones with the huge bottom. None of them worked for me. I tried on 7 different pairs of those things. One of the stores had Keen hiking boots, so they were the taller boots, and I've worn them previously, the Targi 2s, and those worked pretty well for me, but I didn't want a pair of full-on boots. So I ended up back at one of the outfitters and tried on a pair of these. So these right here are the Obos. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And these are the Sawtooth. And at the time in the store, they were the ones that felt the least wrong. They weren't great, but they weren't bad. So I figured, you know what, these will have to do. I can't continue wearing my other shoes. They're just jacked up at this point. I need to get new shoes. So I picked these up and wore them for about a week, roughly, out on the trail. And I didn't experience any blisters or anything in that regard, so they worked pretty well. These are a size 11.5 wide, so No blisters, they fit relatively well. The issue is, I don't know if the insoles on here are just terrible, but I was experiencing tons of foot pain right here on my foot. So like right on the base of the front of my foot, like tons of foot pain. Maybe it was the way I was walking, the way I was, hitting on the trail, but it felt like there was no support in these. And I was just like, I can't keep doing this. It was literally limiting my miles per day. So I was like, it's the footwear. Like, obviously, I had the trail runners before. Those work great for me. Next town I get to, I gotta look for another shoe store. Ended up shipping these home, literally within a week. So if anybody's looking to buy some Obo's Sawtooth 11.5 wides, holler at your boy. So I ended up ditching them, and the pair of shoes I ditched them for, I unfortunately do not have anymore. I ended up in Marion, Virginia, and right next to the Walmart it's just like a local shoe store. I forget the name, I'll put the name somewhere in the video if I can find it. So I went there and just like hoping they had something. They had a surprising amount of hiking shoes. So they had New Balance trail runners, they had some Merrell shoes, Adidas trail runners. What else? They had a couple other things there too, as far as like hiking goes. I ended up spending a lot of time in Marion, Virginia for unrelated issues, health issues. So I was there for about a week. So I went back to the store like 2 or 3 times, just researching. I took pictures of a bunch of the shoes, was researching them online. Finally ended up choosing a pair. And I ended up choosing a pair of, I forget the name. I'll put I have a video when I did my gear at that point. So I'll try to put a picture of them, but I think they were Adidas Terex something. So they were Adidas trail runners. And I had spent almost a week in Marion, Virginia. So when I got them, it was closer to the end of that week. I believe they were size 11.5. And I know personally, in Adidas and Nike shoes, I typically run like a full size more. So I usually wear an 11. I should have got a 12. They didn't have a 12. Settled on 11.5. Said, man, they actually feel pretty good. Headed back out on the trail. The first 2 days out of Marion that I was back on the trail, the shoes worked great for me. Absolutely great. Kept wearing them. Was like, oh, this is awesome. We're back on the trail. We're killing miles. The third day is when the blisters started. And I think after that week, my feet weren't as swollen as they usually were, so they kind of shrunk down. And then back out on the trail for a couple of days, they blew back out. Those shoes like killed me, for real. I was in severe pain like every day on the trail. The first hour hiking on the trail was like brutal. And then my feet would literally go numb. So my pinkies were being crushed. My pinky toes were being crushed. I ended up losing, I thought I was going to lose both of them. I lost the pinky nail on one of my toes, and the other one was like black. It never fell off, but the only time on the trail that I was getting all sorts of blisters. I tried different lacing methods, at least to keep me going until I got to the next outfitter, but nothing would work. There was nothing I could do. The shoes, they just didn't fit. So I was trying to make the best of a worse situation. I even thought about cutting them, like to let my pinky like pop out of the shoe a little bit, maybe try to get some room in there. It was tough. So footwear that did not technically really fit my feet was causing me all sorts of problems. Walking for the first hour of the day was excruciating getting out of bed. So I would, end of the day, if I had a blister, I'd end up popping it, let it drain for the night, and then in the morning I would have to wrap KT tape around most of my toes because they were just getting jacked up. It was a rough time period. And I remember, I think we were at Trent's Grocery, which is in Virginia somewhere. Really cool place, like grocery store, but they let people tent and stuff out back. They have showers and laundry and everything. And I remember everybody was hanging out, having a great time, and I was like, I wanted to join. Like I had been sitting there, but my feet were just like throbbing, and I had to like pop my blisters at the end. Oh, it was terrible. It was terrible. And I taped the hell out of my feet the next day. So at the time, of course, I was like, I need to get new shoes, and I hadn't seen the Ultras yet. Nowhere sold the Ultras. Apparently, the outfitters in Damascus now do sell the Ultras, so that's great. But nobody, when I was in Damascus, had them. There was a gym I passed that had them in the window. It was some gym that was never open. I went there like 4 times while I was in Damascus. Never got to actually try on the Ultra 3.0s, the Lone Peaks, which I had heard so much about. So eventually, while I was on the trail, whenever I got service, I was like looking up shoes, and I was thinking at the next hostel, the hostel I was approaching was it Four Pines? Four Pines Hostel, right before the Virginia Big Three, as I call them. So I was getting closer and I was like, I need to get something shipped here, like absolutely. So I decided, instead of ordering the Ultra 3.0s and then possibly having them not fit, which is lucky because I was going to order them in 11.5s and they would not have fit, I decided instead to order some shoes that I was familiar with and knew that they worked at least pretty well. So the Keen Targhee 2s. So I picked up these off of Amazon. I got them relatively cheap, or cheaper than I would have paid in an outfitter. So these are actually the Keen Targhee 2, the lows. So I have the mid boot that I've been wearing up until this point, essentially for winter hiking only. So, and these ones are just regular size 11.5. And these actually worked pretty well. And I wore these for about a week, roughly. And again, ended up switching shoes. So my issue with these, unfortunately, in my quickness to order new shoes, I ended up accidentally ordering the waterproof version of these. You can kind of see it right in there. It's the little gray stripe down below. So these are lined all the way on the inside with Keen's waterproof lining. Some may argue with me about a long distance trail, or just even hiking for me in general. I think that waterproof shoes, with the exception of maybe in winter hiking, are ridiculous. There's like no point, especially with trail runners nowadays that dry out super quick. The issue I have with these is that I got caught in some rain, pretty heavy rain too, in the time frame I was wearing these, thus the mud on there. This stuff's like caked on there. I've tried to wash it off. It doesn't really come off. The water gets in the shoe and it stays in the shoe. Like, you can leave these out to dry and it might take days for these things to actually dry unless they're in like actual sunlight. And you don't have that issue with trail runners. The trail runners I have used, they dry super, super quick and like water doesn't get stuck in them. So like during a rainstorm, like I'd be walking and if water's dripping down, pouring from the sky and gets in these shoes, you're just walking in puddles all day. Like, you can take it off and empty it out, but like I feel like it's still stuck inside and there's like no real way to get them dry. Needless to say, I was like, my God, like my feet feel good again, as in there's no blisters and stuff. But I was not a big fan of walking around in my little slush puddles in here. So, and even during the day, my feet would sweat uncontrollably, and like lunchtime I would take them off, like dry my socks out too. It was almost like walking in the rain, how bad my feet were sweating in these. And I figured we were coming up to Waynesboro, Virginia, so right before Shenandoah, I was like, I absolutely need to find a pair of the Ultra 3.0 Lone Peaks to try on. Now this right here is the shoe that saved my thru hike. It really is. These shoes are great. And let me tell you the story. So this, of course, is the Ultra Lone Peak 3.0. These are actually the ones that I wore on Katahdin. Let me tell you the story of how I came to acquire the Ultra Lone Peak 3.0s. I ended up in Waynesboro, and I got there, I believe it was a Friday or Saturday. It was very early Saturday. So I got in there and ended up in one of the hotels there or whatever, checked in, immediately found the number for the outfitter. So called the outfitter and said to them, I was like, hey guys, I'm very, very interested in getting a new pair of shoes. Do you sell Ultras? And I'll never forget, the guy was like, nah, no we don't. And I was like, no, I'm gonna have to go all the way through Shenandoah. But he goes, we do not, however. And I was like, however? So apparently there was a running store in the town on the other side of the mountains called Crozet. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And they were a specialty running store that sold all sorts of like obscure hiking and trail running shoes. He's like, so they definitely carry them. He's like, you should give them a ring, see if they got what you need. So gave him a call, and they had these, and at the time I thought 11.5 would be my size. They said that they had these in 12s, and they had the Superior, the Ultra Superior 3.0s in at 11.5. So I was like, can you hold them for me? Like, I will get there. I don't know how I'm gonna get there, but I'll get there. So I called them Saturday night, so they were closing, however, it was soon they would be closing. So they were like, yeah, we're here Sunday too. If you can get down here, no problem. But yeah, we'll hold them for you. So Sunday morning, Waynesboro has a bunch of trail angels. I made a bunch of phone calls. Unfortunately, Sunday in like the kind of south, mid-south where we were in Virginia, that's church day. That's church day. Everybody down there. I think I called 4 or 5 people and they were like, "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. We're heading to church." Blah, blah, blah. I was like, "Ah." So, unfortunately, I could not get a ride from anybody on the Trail Angel list that I call. Luckily, however, my wonderful city ingenuity was like, "I wonder if Uber works here." Uber worked. I ended up getting an Uber from Waynesboro to Crozet, and I think it was $28 or something just to get to the place. I think I spent $45 in total just taking an Uber back and forth to get to this place. I was like, I need to get there. Like, I'm not going to try to hitchhike. I'm not going to whatever. Like, this needs to happen now. I got over there, walked in the door. The people there were super friendly. There was a younger kid and an older, not old, but, you know, older guy. I was like, "Hey, I called about the Ultras yesterday." And they're like, "Oh, yeah." So they took them out and I tried these on. I'm somebody who usually is around an 11. So I tried on their size 12. I have wide feet, and these things, when I put them on, I knew it immediately. I put them on, I was like, these are them. Like, these are the shoe right here. So I tried the Ultra Superiors on too, because they had the Ultra Superiors in 11.5 and 12s. So I tried that on too, and just didn't feel as good to me as this did. This thing felt incredible. So I was just like, yes, like, this is great. This shoe literally saved my thru hike. Like, my feet were just getting jacked up for like the previous almost month. And to have these, it was like a godsend. So I've put these things through the ringer. Not these ones in particular. This was the 3rd pair of these that I ended up wearing. The first 2 pairs lasted, one of them lasted from where I was, so before Shenandoah, all the way up to, I switched them out at the Massachusetts border, Massachusetts and Connecticut border. And then the pair from there, I wore from Connecticut all the way through to the last town before the 100-mile wilderness in Maine. So almost right before Katahdin. I can't think of the name, it's escaping me at the moment. But I switched these out right before that last town, so I only wore these hiking through the 100-mile wilderness and on Katahdin. Just a couple things about these shoes. I would say that they last pretty well for about 600-ish miles. The shoe really does kind of take form of your foot. So my girlfriend's actually been using the newer 3.5s, and one of the things she experienced too, so she tried them the first time, they worked pretty well, and she put them on again, they felt kind of loose. This is what I did on the trail personally, to break them in. So I feel like there is a break-in period where they kind of mold to your feet. So I would just tighten the bottom a little bit. I'd leave the middle relatively undone, and then I would try to tighten it even more at the top. And that just kind of worked for me. And yeah, worked great. So I also bought Ultra's Gaiters that you can actually hook onto there. Then it clips on the front. The new version of the Gaiters and the 3.5s also hook on the sides on these two, but these shoes literally saved my thru hike, so I was pumped. Got the shoes and thanked the guys at Crozet, or whatever it was, Crozet Running. They were cool. They also offered, I think it was a 10% discount to hikers, so I still paid a lot for these. So yeah, at the time these were going on Amazon, I think $80, and I paid $110, I think it was, with the discount. But hey, at that point I didn't care. Take care of your feet on the trail. I mean, they're literally what is going to carry you up the trail. These work very, very well for me. Very ventilated. And another plus, a huge plus about these, I've literally walked through streams, puddles, like streams flowing down the trail from rainstorms. And I genuinely feel like they're dry like the next night. Or even if you keep walking, like the water escapes through all the little sides and stuff, so you don't feel like you're walking in a puddle all the time in the rain. No foot pain the rest of the trail, did not develop another blister for the rest of the trail, and were with me the rest of the way. So 3 pairs, 2 of them completely gone. Those things had seen better days. I'll try to find pics of that too, but this one still carrying strong. So on the trail today, I am actually wearing, of course, so these are the ones I just recently picked up. These are the Ultra Lone Peak 3.5s, and these have seen a fair amount of hikes out in the whites this year. At least 6 overnight, 5 overnight. I don't know, a bunch of overnights so far. Supposedly they are a bit smaller than the 3.0s, but I haven't had an issue with it personally. They fit me, I would argue, just the same. One of the biggest issues with the 3.0s and the 3.5s, one of the biggest downsides is, I don't know if you can see it on this one, but this front thing right here starts to flip up a little bit. You can see it's starting to happen here too. While I was on the trail, I actually used super glue to glue that back on, but it will just keep popping off. That would be my biggest gripe with the shoes. In all honesty, you could probably just cut it off with scissors, but that's like the only major downside that I can think of with the Ultras. Supposedly they changed the glue, and they were like, oh no, it's better now, but I don't know about that. Apparently a little smaller, but I personally did not notice any difference. You can see here, I was saying the Gator thing on the back, so this Velcro here, and then the little loop up top. Oop. But right here is where they added more hooks. So their new Gaiters also hook on the side, which, you know, is a good thing in my opinion. So, and these have been working out great. Every hike I've been on the whites right now, I feel completely good on the trail. I've had no blisters whatsoever, and I just really enjoy these shoes. One of the big differences between trail runners too that I noticed, besides, you know, the rain escaping or whatever, or drying out quickly, is when I'm hiking on a trail in boots, I feel like you almost get too confident. Like you can't feel anything underneath you, like underneath your foot. And that to me is like a weird feeling. With these, it's like the perfect balance, I feel like, between, you know, feeling the rocks under your feet enough, but not to the point where it's like jacking up your feet. These are seriously, like, for me, the perfect hiking shoe. They dry quick, they're comfortable, they're lightweight, you can feel the ground, you don't feel it too much, they're wide, they don't cause blisters. Like, I don't know what more I could ask for. I wish I had found these before the trail, the 3.0s, and I wish that I had bought pairs of them ahead of time. If you find something that works for you, hold on to it. Hold on to it and buy extra. So those are all the shoes that I wore, that I still wear. Hope it wasn't too long and ranty, but I don't know. I thought it was kind of a fun story anyway. So, and as far as socks go, I'll talk about them briefly anyway. These are the three main pairs that I wore throughout the trail. So these ones right here are just kind of just above the ankle length Darn Tough sock. If you're not familiar with Darn Tough socks, they're pretty legit. So expensive, arguably yes. I think I've never paid legit full price for these, but I think I paid roughly $10 a pair when I got these. I think they sell for $13 to $15. So this is just their regular whatever sock. It's just above the ankle, and it's good. It's mostly wool. I believe there's a little bit of nylon, or is it lycra? Isn't lycra nylon? I forget. They have a little elastic too that runs on the bottom. They really hug your feet, like they don't move. Like these things stay on so well. And the big thing about Darn Tough is that they offer a lifetime warranty, so if you get a hole in them, you can literally ship them back. They'll send you a new pair. These ones were with me on the entirety of the trail, and you can see they're starting to wear away a little bit where the elastic liner is right there. Still usable though, and I'm not gonna send them back until they get worn down. These ones worked out very well for me, and I also brought out another pair of Darn Toughs. So this one right here is actually their hiker series, and as far as differences between these ones go, these ones do feel a little bit lighter, especially in the top section here. They feel a little bit more airy, if that makes any sense whatsoever. They even feel a little bit lighter underneath as well, so perhaps a little bit more airy. And of course, they got the longer length. Helpful if you're wearing boots and stuff too. Also helps keep your legs a little bit better protected from the elements and stuff. So worked out pretty well for me. You can see they're starting to get a little torn up in the back. It's usually right where the back of my shoe would line up. Nice socks. These worked really well too. And when I went to that Crozet running store as well to pick up my Ultra 3.0s, I had asked them too, as I was entering Tick Country again, if they had any sort of super long socks there. And they guided me toward these. And these are technically compression socks, and these are made by Sockwell, is the name of the company. Pretty expensive. I think they were like 25 bucks, which is pricey. But for me, a lot of people asked me if I was wearing these for the health benefits or if I was using them for the compression benefits. And that was not the case at all. I literally just wanted high socks that went hopefully right about my knee level. And these did. These were just underneath my knee. And the reason for that was I do not particularly care to hike in pants, and I was genuinely concerned about ticks, so I sprayed these and all my other clothes in permethrin, and these were kind of my happy medium as far as, you know, having decent protection against ticks and not having to wear pants. So these actually worked really good. The pair that I got from Crozet actually ended up with a hole in them near the end of the trail. I ditched them in the last town, the one right before the 100-mile wilderness, because these are definitely thinner than the darn tough ones, and they ended up tearing. There's a seam that goes right across there, so they ended up ripping right there, right where my big toe was. So I ditched them, but luckily a friend of mine purchased another pair of these and sent them out to me, so worked out well. I really like these. A lot of people mention them in the YouTube comments, thinking I was trying to start some sort of fashion statement or something. For me, it was literally function over looking good. So I don't know, maybe they looked okay. It was a unique look, I'll give it that, I suppose. But I had all sorts of people ask me about the compression qualities. I did not notice anything different as far as compression goes. But they worked well. So that's kind of it. So I guess what I'm trying to say with this super long video is quality socks are crucial to your feet health. Highly recommend that you get good socks that work for you. Darn Tough is great. The Sockwell ones I had worked well as well. A lot of people like Smartwool. I've heard good things about Farm to Feet. I have not tried them personally. And the other thing, and I cannot stress this enough, do not settle on footwear. If a pair of shoes is causing you physical pain all the time, it's because the shoe does not fit you. Everybody's feet are shaped differently, and shoes are going to fit other people differently. So these oboe sawtooth ones that did not work for me really at all could fit somebody else perfectly. Those Adidas trail runners that I had that literally were tearing my feet up, maybe somebody else's perfect shoe. The Ultras, they work perfect for me and for a lot of other people, I feel like, with wide feet. They are designed specifically, from my understanding, people with wide feet in mind. They have a wider toe box. Try footwear on, I cannot stress that enough, and put it to use. One of the best things about REI, a lot of people complain about them being expensive. If you ever go to the garage sales, you'll see how many things of shoes are returned to that store. Footwear is so personal. Like, everybody's feet are different. Like, everybody's feet are shaped different, arch different, lengths are different, widths are different. It's such a personal preference. I would maybe recommend buying the shoes from REI. Is it going to cost you more than another place? Yeah, probably. Even with the coupons, it's still kind of up there. But they will offer you that return policy, and that's crucial. I ended up spending, so between the Keens, the Oboes, and the Adidas trail runners I got, that was almost $300 that I literally threw out the door. Get a pair of shoes, test them on trails. Don't walk around in a store and be like, yeah, that works. It's not necessarily going to work on the trail when you're pushing uphill all day and the shoes are slipping off your heel, perhaps. It's not going to work when you're going downhill and the front of your feet are jamming into the shoes. A lot of people settle for that and just think blisters are part of the thing. It's not. If you were wearing proper socks and proper footwear, I genuinely think your hike and your feet will be 800 million times better. Don't quote me on that exact percentage statistic. You get what I'm saying. I hope this helps. I genuinely do. I don't want anybody spending $300 more than they need to on footwear. Footwear and foot pain, foot issues can quite literally ruin a thru hike. So it can get you off the trail. So that's gonna do it, everyone. Hope the video was helpful. Hope you liked the rambling. Hope you liked my stories. If you did, drop it a like. If you loved it, consider commenting, subscribing. Maybe you get some shoe suggestions or something like that. Footwear suggestions that helped you out on the trail. Feel free to drop them in the comments as well. And you can follow me on Instagram at Chris Goes Outdoors if you care to. If you choose not to, it's cool. It's your prerogative. I don't take offense. And until next time, it's been great, everyone. Catch you in the next one. Take care.